Hello and welcome back to the Cash vs. Trash podcast with your hosts Rob and
Demi, where we watch the highest and lowest grossing movies of each year from 1970 to 2021 picked at random, then decide if they deserve the title of either cash or trash.
That's right, and this week we're looking at Mission Impossible 2, the highest grossing movie of the year 2000. This American action spy thriller starring Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt.
You might recognize Tom Cruise from Top Gun or the Mummy remake.
And a million of these movies. And
this franchise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is, he's like the A-list celebrity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to escape that guy. Dougray Scott as Sean Ambrose.
You might have seen him in Hitman or Ever After.
Yeah, he was, because of this movie, he wasn't Wolverine like he was supposed to be, and it shot his career in the foot. Yep. It was very hard to find well-known filmography for that guy. Thandiwe Newton, also known as Tandy Newton, we might interchange, we'll get into that later, but as Nia Nordhoff Hall.
You might have seen her in the TV series Westworld or the movie Pursuit of Happiness.
Another one who missed out on a big movie role because of this movie, although this time it was a good thing, she missed out on Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was meant to be one of the angels, but...
Probably.
Yeah. Not a bad thing for her there. Ving Rhames as Luther Strickle.
Who was in Pulp Fiction and also Dawn of the Dead.
And he's just one of those guys who's just in everything.
Yeah, and this franchise as well.
Oh, yes, and I am fairly certain he's the only other person other than Tom Cruise who is in every single movie.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. This movie was released in May of 2000, so it's a summer blockbuster. Filmed on location for the most part in Seville, Spain, and Sydney, Australia, which you can tell a lot of the time. Directed by John Woo, who's famous for Hard Boiled and Face Off. Face Off is one of my personal favourite movies. I'm still not sure if it's a guilty pleasure or just a genuinely a banger, but I think it's a banger.
Probably a bit of both.
And produced and distributed by Paramount Pictures and, of course, Tom Cruise himself.
Yeah.
Yes, infamously.
Yeah. The budget of this movie was $125 million. It grossed $215 million domestically, $330 million internationally, worldwide about $546 million. And it started off good with its opening weekend making $57 million. So, pretty good start to start off.
Yeah, I mean, it made around 10% of its earnings in one weekend.
Yeah, pretty good. And we get this information based off Box Office Mojo and sometimes help from the numbers.com.
Although this week it was pretty easy.
Yeah, 2000.
Highest grossing movies are pretty easy in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably did so well on its opening weekend because the first one was really good. So most of its grossings would have come from the opening weekend because people would have gone, hell yeah, the second one.
Yeah.
And gone and watched it when it came out.
Yeah, and this movie was everywhere when I was a kid. I mean, I was 5 when it came out. You were 3, I think you said?
3, yeah.
Yeah, or we were around those ages. And you couldn't escape parodies, homages, anything of this movie. I mean, a couple of weeks ago we talked about Independence Day, about how that was copied and parodied so much, but nothing compared to this.
Yeah.
This movie was everywhere. The shot of him throwing the sunnies at the start was just everywhere you could see. Even my dad, who is not at all a movie guy, even he would like make jokes about it and stuff. So, it was everywhere.
It was rated 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is fresh.
Just barely.
Yeah. And the movies that lost out to this movie, so number 2 was Gladiator.
Which is an absolute crime. The fact that this beat Gladiator.
And number 3, Castaway.
And Castaway.
Yeah.
I can see sort of why it beat Castaway, but Gladiator, that still shocks me.
Yeah. Number 4 was What Women Want. Number 5 was Dinosaur, and number 6 was The Grinch Stole Christmas. Again, I can see why this one would have beaten all those because it was the second one to the first one, and the
Yeah,
first one
well,
did really well.
all of
So
these...
it already had a fan base.
Yeah, like all of these other ones are, other than the Grinch Stole Christmas, are standalone IPs.
Yeah.
And even How the Grinch Stole Christmas was, while it was an adaptation, it was the first of its kind.
Yeah.
There was this and then Cat in the Hat later, and that's it.
Mm.
So yeah, being a sequel helped it.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
Tom Cruise, just...
Being Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, early Tom Cruise too.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah. So, Mission Impossible 2. An agent from the Impossible Missions Force, Ethan Hunt, who is assigned the mission to take down a rogue IMF agent, Sean Ambrose, who has stolen the antidote for a deadly virus. Hunt must team up with Ambrose's ex-lover and master thief, Nia Hall, to save Sydney from a deadly influenza outbreak.
Yep.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, and along the way, he might... Well, not along the way, right from the start, he might fall in love.
Yes.
Ooh, there's a bit of a love triangle aspect to this movie.
Yep.
I'm just going to go right out ahead and say it. You've probably seen this movie. It's everywhere. If you haven't, don't waste your time.
Mm.
If you want to do a watch of all the Mission Impossible movies, sure, it's kind of a laugh sometimes, but this is one of those movies that's just bad.
Yeah.
Not so bad it's good, not atrocious, just boring bad.
Yeah, it's a action-packed movie with, like an action-packed spy movie with a crappy love story on the side.
Yeah, they don't blend at all.
No.
All the actors do a good enough job and everything like that. Yeah, as we'll get into in our spoilers, there are some reasons why this movie turned out so bad, even though it was the highest grossing movie of 2000, which thankfully it was, because then it spawned 5 more.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, no, they're filming 7 now. It'll either be this year or next year, and then 8 is scheduled after that. So yeah, 5, maybe 6 sequels.
Yeah.
Well, this is, you know what I mean. They're all much better than this. Even the ones that aren't anything too crash hot, they're all much better than this. So
yeah, this is definitely the worst one.
yeah, you could absolutely skip this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because other than I think 5 and 6, they're all pretty individual. I mean, this is as well, but yeah, the original idea was to have a different director for each film.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know that this is a sequel, which is to its credit. You wouldn't know that it's a sequel.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't rely on, remember when that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is really good.
So you can safely skip this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no crucial thing you need for the sequels. There's no, it's not really worth your time.
No.
All right, we're going to do spoilers now, and we'll do our customary thing, give everyone a chance to switch off if they want to see the movie, but it doesn't really matter with this one, in my opinion, as we said just a second ago. So, yeah. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, jingle, jingle. We're in spoilers now. It's spoiler time. Tom Cruise beats the bad guy by somehow sideways upwards kicking a gun out of the sand and then blowing him away.
Yeah.
And also, he doesn't get shot, Luther doesn't get shot, and the helicopter doesn't get shot.
When Sean shoots the
Yeah.
gun. Yeah, and then Ethan Hunt drops down. I was expecting to see a bullet come past him or something, but you don't know where the bullet goes.
Yeah.
And nobody. Well, when Luther hops in, I think he says.
No.
Oh, that
happens
on.
in the shootout.
Yeah,
He gets shot through the shoulder bit, and he says they put a hole in his Versace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Sean shoots the gun, there's no. You don't see any bullet.
Nope.
Maybe Tom Cruise used his mind to disintegrate
He
the
used
bullet.
the thetans or whatever it is in Scientology to just make the bullet disappear. Well, he edited this movie. Yeah, he holds the final credit for editing, I think.
Mm.
I don't know if it's in the credits themselves, but it said like he holds final ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we said before, this movie doesn't deserve to be the highest grossing.
Not at all.
Yeah, but anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's like they just took the rule of cool and jammed it in almost every scene, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
And I think everybody who watched this movie probably has the same opinion. They're probably thinking, like, damn, that wasn't as good as the first one.
Yeah. I think that might be why there's a 6-year break before the third one.
Yeah.
But the franchise picks up after that and it's all good, so
Yeah.
not too bad.
Yeah, had to reevaluate.
This is a Mission Impossible movie, so of course there's lots of espionage and face masks.
Yeah.
Latex face masks. I looked it up, couldn't find, specifically for this movie, couldn't find the process for how they did that. Maybe I just didn't look hard enough, but I mean, they're latex masks. Obviously, it's just the actor
Playing, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the actor playing someone else playing their character. Yeah, so, and then when it goes to them, it's like a photo almost, or, because it just looks too good to be a mask. But they always find a way to sort of put a hand over it.
Yeah, and pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the best one that's done is when Ambrose tricks Naya in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
He
rubs
both
his temples and then pulls it off.
So it takes you out of the mask thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're a staple of the franchise. I think they used just well enough in this movie. You said that there were too many, I think.
I think the first one was good. When Ethan Hunt was pretending to be the doctor or whatever he is, that was good. But then straight after that, we see Sean Ambrose being Tom Cruise, being Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
And I think right after each other, that's too much. It's not as fun and exciting. I think they could have used a different way to have Sean find out that Naya was, like, spying on them.
Yeah, well, I think he already knew or sort of figured it out.
Yeah.
And he suspected it right from the start. I kind of liked that idea. That's a big problem I have with this movie, is that I like a lot of the ideas that they had, but not actually any of the ways that they were executed. It just kept going and going with, then this happens, and this happens, and this happens, without actually like stopping and taking full advantage of what they're doing. I felt, which could be down to what happened with the editing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the face masks, and like I say, the first one's really good, and I think all of them are good, but just when it happened right after each other, it wasn't as surprising.
Yeah.
But the best one was the last one, when Ethan Hunt was pretending to be the sidekick guy.
Yeah, when we had a double one, and what's his name?
The South African dude. Yeah.
Q, South African.
Yeah.
Played by Richard Rox. I don't know if it's Roxburgh or Roxborough or something like that. Australian actor. Australia's own. And he's for some reason playing a South African.
Yeah.
As somebody, if you don't mind me saying, from South Africa, what did you think of the accent?
The accent wasn't too bad. I mean, the accent in general is just... It's just a bad accent.
Yeah,
but
well, there goes all of our South African listeners.
He did a pretty good job. It was just very exaggerated. Sometimes it was a little bit cartoony.
Obviously I haven't heard the accent as much as you have, but I've heard it enough in the past few years to know when he slips out of South African and goes into, like, German.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which doesn't make sense, because you'd think he'd go more, or maybe it is Dutch, but I don't really know what they sound like. But it sounds more Central Europe than South African a lot of the time.
Yeah, but he did an okay job.
Yeah, I just think, why was he South African?
Yeah.
Because if you've got an Australian actor the first thing you do is probably make him British, or just make him Australian.
Or,
it's fine.
Yeah, or why can't he be American?
Well, I think British would be the easiest step because Australian accent slips into British quite easily.
True, and Sean Ambrose is British as well.
Is he British?
Well, he has a British accent.
I thought that was Scottish.
Oh, either way.
Well, Scottish, you can't... Look, you've lost the South Africans. We're losing the Aussies. Let's not say that Brits and Scottish sound exactly the same.
I wasn't going to.
Okay, because
Similar.
there goes all of them.
They sound similar, okay?
Yeah. True. But yeah, it's filmed on location for the most part in Sydney, Australia. So have more Aussies in the movie,
Yeah,
I think.
makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, they did get one for Billy Baird, or I think Billy Bard, John Paulson. He's not really in much other things. He's more of a director and a producer, I think, but...
He's not in many other things.
What did I say? Any?
Much other things.
Cancel the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, we've got way off track. Yeah, so this movie has... it's a very stunt-heavy movie.
Yeah.
The stunts are all done very well. It was hard to pin down exactly who the stunt coordinators were, who the stunt performers were, other than I think Keith Campbell is Tom Cruise's stunt double for this movie. That man has the easiest job in Hollywood.
Yep.
Watch Tom Cruise do his job for him.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, a lot of practical effects, explosions, special effects, that sort of thing. Not a very VFX heavy movie.
Yeah, no.
Other than, like some green screen stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that, to this movie's credit, it is very practical heavy.
Yeah.
I like that. Obviously, John Woo, as far as I've seen, does a lot of practical stuff. I think probably one of the only big bits of VFX is the glasses throw. Right
The
at the start.
iconic glasses throw.
One of the most iconic shots in movie history is him throwing the sunnies at the camera, and then it explodes, and it goes into the wick burning down, and then the Mission Impossible theme, which is also very iconic and barely in this movie.
Yeah, you said you really, as a kid, you really liked that glasses throw scene.
I thought that it was the best thing I'd ever seen in my life, and me and all my friends just did that all the time. We were like, ooh, with everything.
Yeah.
It was...
And now, how do you feel about it?
I hate it. I actually had to look away the second time we watched this. I was just...
Very, very, very 2000s.
And I'm not embarrassed by, 5, 6, 7-year-old me. I mean, the movie was just... it is still kind of cool, but I remembered it as being way cooler than what it is.
Yeah, of its time, it would have been amazing.
And to be honest, I'm probably more remembering the parodies of it.
Yeah, probably.
Where it was made more. And that happens a lot of the time with iconic things. You don't remember the thing itself. You remember...
what comes from it.
Yeah.
But obviously Tom Cruise did a lot of his own stunts. I think 95% of the stunts.
Including leading up to that. Climbing a mountain in Utah.
Yeah.
He got a rock climbing expert who looks just like him to teach him how to do a lot of it. And then the production thought that guy was going to be doing most of it, and then they'd get some close-ups of Tom.
Yeah.
But no.
Tom, the man himself, wanted to do it all.
I think a lot of people have said this before, and I'm just going to jump right on the bandwagon. He's trying to die.
Yeah, that's...
He's not depressed, but he's like, how can I die in the coolest way possible?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, does this guy just want to die on a movie set? Like doing his own stunts and doing the most craziest things. He's like, nah, I'll do it. I'm not a professional in that, but I'll do it.
Well, I can't really blame him. I mean, for some of it, I like his attitude towards it. He says, I don't like cheating. Audiences can tell when it's not you. They can tell that it's a body double or a stunt double or whatever because of the way it's shot, and you can't see the person's face. And the general rule or word of whatever is, if you can't see their face, it's not them.
Yeah.
And to this movie's credit, which there's not much to this movie's credit, you can see his face with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And in the behind the scenes thing, yeah, they talked a lot about how he's a crazy man. Now it's pretty normal with Tom Cruise. He does a lot of his own stuff. But back then they were like, wow, he's a crazy man.
Yeah.
And they were right.
He's just that dedicated to the job, I guess. He said he just loves doing what he does, so he's going to put his all effort into it.
Most notably, on the dedication and possibly trying to get himself killed, is John Woo he came up with the idea for the knife close to the eye, like coming down, sort of break in the fight, which is good.
Yeah.
And he was just going to use a fake knife or like a half knife or something like that, or one of those ones that comes down and then like
retracts when
on so impact. If it did hit him, it might do some damage but won't
he wouldn't
kill
lose
the guy.
An eye.
And Tom Cruise said no, you will use a real knife because he was the man in control of this movie. And they argued, and then they set up the wire connected to a mechanism that was attached to the knife, as I understand it, which then was connected and tied to like a big boom arm thing. And so you could put all of your effort into that knife and it would not go further than that point.
Yeah.
So Sean Ambrose was laying on it, sort of like, he's like got all the force down on it, and it's going towards Ethan Hunt's eye, but it doesn't move because, it's meant to be him holding it up. But in real life, it just cannot move any further.
Yeah.
And they tested it out a bunch of times, and Tom Cruise was like, please let this be the thing that kills me. But it didn't. He's unkillable.
It was very, very close to his pupil.
Yeah, the shot of it on, like, going towards his eye was real.
Yeah.
That's the crazy. Like, you can have all the bits where it's sort of back a bit and, they're just holding a knife.
Yeah.
But when it comes down, that was legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And he also did all the jumping in and out of buildings and stuff like that. Some of them were done on green screens. I don't know if, like, the parachute scene, I think it was probably done in front of a green screen as well.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine they got clearance to parachute into Sydney. Yeah.
All the acting in this movie was pretty good. There wasn't anybody that had any bad performances. I think everyone in this movie was pretty mediocre.
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
Well, not mediocre, but like they weren't amazing and they weren't terrible.
No, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, they were just good enough for what the movie is.
The best performance was probably Dougray Scott. I think he put a lot of emotion into it, and he was a good villain. I think.
Definitely.
Yeah,
he did a good job.
Everyone else seemed like, even Tom Cruise, who, when he tries to act like a normal person, it scares me.
It's very odd.
It's terrifying. Like when they have the car chase scene, and that makes it sound intense. If you haven't seen the movie, there's a scene where he's trying to recruit Nia Hall, Tandy Wayne Newton's character, into the team, and he comes up behind her in a car, and this phone call and whatever, and she looks back and he waves, and when he waves, I was like, oh, this is like American Psycho, but a spy.
Yeah. It's like he's trying to be normal, but he's not.
Yeah, which makes sense because as we see, not to talk too much about other movies, but in pretty much all of the other ones, the whole family life other than the IMF is all fake. I think in the third one he genuinely does, because spoilers for the third one, he is retired and has a wife, but there's like, they're making the seventh one, so clearly that doesn't pan out. No. But he's clearly the kind of guy who that's all he wants to do is be a spy and kill lots of people and save the world. Because it's kind of like James Bond, where he's just incapable of being a normal person at this point. And you can really see that here. And it's good that Tom Cruise plays him because if you met him in real life, he'd just scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little bit creepy. The whole, like, love side of it, and Ethan Hunt trying to be sexy and romantic.
Yeah.
It just came across as fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tip of the triangle, of the love triangle, Nia Hall, as played by Tandy, or Tandy Way Newton, as she's known now. Yeah, she does a good job, I think. And we'll get to it more when we talk about the story. Her character, I feel like there's a lot missing to that. It seems like she starts off very intelligent and her own person. Then in the middle is just this idiot.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she's her own... Well, not at the very end, but at some bits in the end, she's like... shows that character we were first introduced to. Which may explain some stuff with, like, Tom Cruise. I'll just use the actor's name for this part.
Yeah.
With Tom Cruise's performance, where he's just all over the place. And there's scenes that seem to not explain stuff to do with Richard Roxburgh's character, Hugh Stamp, where he does a good job. Like, his performance is good, but there's things missing. But also, the director, John Woo, very famous, very famous action movie director, came from, he's Chinese, and he directed a lot of Chinese films. I'm not really familiar with those ones, but I know he did Hard Boiled, which was like, I don't know if it's in English or not. It might be one of those ones that's been dubbed. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen there's one very iconic action scene with the main character and another police officer within a long one-take shootout. And then he did Broken Arrow, and then he did Face Off, both Hollywood movies, and that led him to be selected, let's say, by Tom Cruise.
Yeah, for this movie.
Yeah, because Tom Cruise is the kingpin of
the Mission Impossible franchise.
Yeah. He has full control, and I think that works for a lot of the other movies where the other directors might not have as a strong style compared to John Woo, but he has such a distinct style to his movies.
Yeah.
Because when I think about it, the first one, directed by Brian De Palma, feels very strong, and I don't think Tom Cruise had as much sway in that one. Then in this one, they clashed a lot.
Yeah.
And then in the third one, it's J.J. Abrams, who Tom Cruise could have just puppeted.
Yeah.
But it feels like a J.J. Abrams movie, but his style isn't so distinct. And then after that, they all sort of feel pretty similar. And I think that's Tom Cruise being like a backdoor producer / director.
Yeah. And because he has that, John Woo has a distinct style, it definitely interferes with the movie itself, and that shows. Also, this movie was originally supposed to be 3.5 hours long, but Paramount Pictures said no.
Yeah, they a hard no on that.
Yeah.
These days, that's not totally unheard of, a 3.5 hour movie. Avengers movies and Zack Snyder's Justice League. But the longer a movie is, the less screenings they can have in cinemas.
Yeah.
That's why most movies are pretty short. Also, if you can't make a good movie in an hour and a half, you shouldn't be making movies.
Yeah.
Especially because this movie doesn't have like a big cast of characters. It only has like 4 sort of leads, even though we added Ving Rhames in there, but he's not really in it heaps. He wouldn't have much screen time compared to the main 3. Yeah.
It's mainly those 3 that are the most on screen.
And they're underdeveloped, I feel. And so characters like Luther and Billy, who they're supposed to have this like yin-yang style thing where Luther's very clean and he's a computer hacker, and he's I wouldn't say elegant, but,
Yeah.
very down the line, like, yep, cool. And then Billy comes across as like this wild pilot,
Yeah.
and he's introduced, that they're introduced that way into the movie, but then they have like one or two scenes where they seem to clash, or not even clash, but, be different. And then after that, they're just doing normal stuff.
Yeah.
And Billy's in the helicopter most of the time, just yelling into the speaker.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get much to do.
Yeah. So I think, like, we sort of noticed that maybe the reason why this movie is choppy, changey, and a
Yeah.
bit confusing is probably because a lot of it had to get cut out.
Yes.
And maybe if it was like how it was supposed to be 3.5 hours long, it would have been better. But they are right to say, like, anything more than 2 hours is a bit too long.
Absolutely. But in this day and age, hashtag bring back the woo cut.
Yeah. Yeah, re-release that. Let's see how the movie is then.
Because there was a version of it that apparently got sent around, or some people had it. It was 163 minutes, and it was apparently a lot better, and had a lot of the missing stuff, and fixed a lot of the plot holes, and just the things that seemed so random and inconsequential. And I would love to see that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, a better cut of this movie I would have time for.
Yeah,
But as it stands, this movie is just crap.
Yeah, it's trash.
Yeah. Hey, don't give it away too early.
Oh, sorry, if it wasn't obvious.
There are some things that they don't linger on them too long, but are staples of the franchise. Like this item message will self-destruct, which leads to the Sunny's Throw, and the theme song, which is barely used. I think it's only used in the opening
and
theme.
the end.
Oh, in the very end, yeah. But one is the iconic shot from the first movie of Ethan Hunt, spread eagle, over a floor, doing whatever. I think they have something in it in every movie, and in this one, it's when he jumps through the louvers and gets all the way down, and it's only quickly.
It's like classic spy movie.
Yeah, well,
stuff.
that segment is the best scene in the best sequence in the movie.
For sure.
Yeah, and then it's just straight back to crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't feel very, like, spy heavy. Mainly action, like gunfights and fighting and all of that. And that's why those middle sequences are the best, because it's what the movie should be. It's like the spy aspect of it.
And like John Woo is a fantastic director in my opinion. He's just not the right pick for a spy movie, I think.
Yeah.
Action movies, obviously he's made some of the most iconic ones. And everyone, looks to them as they are kind of cheesy, but who cares? Like, they're good action movies. I genuinely really love Face Off.
Yeah.
And I've seen Broken Arrow a couple of times. I don't think it's as John Woo as Face Off is. And yeah, from what I've seen of Hard Boiled. And, I think that they did him really dirty in this.
Yeah.
You get somebody on for their distinct style and then just shut them out. Supposedly Tom Cruise locked him out of the editing room. I don't know if that means that he literally
physically locked him out,
or if that's like jargon for told him to bugger off.
Either way, that's not very good.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that he really wasn't in control.
Yeah.
These are Tom Cruise's movies.
Yeah. As we said before, in the car chase scene with Ethan Hunt trying to recruit Naya, they do it in the most bizarre way. He somehow finds her and is following her in his car.
I'll let you get to what I know you're going to say. That was a choice of John Woo.
Yeah.
It was just going to be in a room.
Oh, okay.
But then he was like, oh, that's a bit crap, and added in this scene.
Well,
yeah, go on.
He should have met somewhere in the middle, because this scene is just too crazy. Anyway, yeah, obviously Naya's in one car and Ethan Hunt's in the other car. And when it's the shots of her, she's in a very warm lighting, like you can see on her face, it's very warm. And then when it cuts to Ethan Hunt in his car, first of all, the background looks completely different. and he is in a much cooler lighting.
Yeah.
So either they shot it at different times of the day, or she actually wasn't.
Well, my theory on that is that he would have wanted to be driving
Yeah.
himself, whereas her stuff was probably done by a stunt double, and then the shots close up of her were done in a studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my theory on that, and that I didn't notice it as much as you, but I was just rolling my eyes the entire time.
Yeah. I noticed it, like, it was very obvious to me.
I was also cackling laughing during that entire
that
sequence
scene,
because it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's very similar to a scene from, I think it's GoldenEye, James Bond movie, which is what I was thinking of when it was on, but not as good. And the James Bond movies are, like, I think John Woo would direct one of those really good because they are supposed to be like the spy, James Bond, you know, there's a woman involved and he gets too in with her and, you know, he beds her and then he's cold and can't really love and then she is swept up in all of it. And that makes sense for those because they're meant to be, like, really dramatic. Whereas the Mission Impossible movies are at their best when it's, like, the team doing a heist-style thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because they're not normal spies. They're... Because it's the IMF, the Impossible Missions Force.
You did what I did. Impossible Mission.
Impossible. Need some Sean Connery in there. Impossible. Yeah, they do, like, the craziest shit.
Yeah.
And that's why they're, you know, I really like the scene, like we were talking about, the best scene in the movie, the heist part, where Sean Ambrose is talking about what he reckons Ethan Hunt will do, and he's spot on with all of it because he's studied so much of his stuff.
Yeah.
And I really like that part. It's just a shame that there was this really good scene sprinkled in a big crap piece of shit
movie. Yeah. The other thing I noticed, I don't know if you took notice, but whenever there was, like, explosions or, you know, like something's blowing up, it was a lot of snap cuts and shots, and then it'll just show, like, random smoke, you know, blowing away, or, like, the corner of the room. It just seemed very weird.
That could be a symptom or a consequence, I should say, of the edit being cut right down.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe there was characters who were in the movie who they cut most of their stuff out. Like, blink and you miss it, Dominic Purcell is in this. I'd forgotten that and then saw him randomly. It was like, is that guy?
Yeah, is that that guy from Prison Break?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to tell also because he has hair in this.
No, does he?
Yeah, he has a full head of hair and like almost like a faux hawk.
That's weird.
Yeah. But even like Brendan Gleeson's character, who seems to be set up like he's going to be pretty important, just disappears before the final fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even really have a resolution.
Yeah, no.
Old mate Sean Ambrose tells him to get down on his knees, and I was like, oh, now that they've got the money, he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
But they just leave, and he's like, okay, I guess.
We never see him again after that.
They don't say that he got arrested.
Yeah.
They don't say that he was killed. He's just
gone.
Yeah, but the big problem is the supposed quote-unquote love story or love triangle that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, take all of that out and
absolutely.
This movie would be a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, I think if you could keep, even though it's crap, you could keep the scene where he recruits her.
Yeah.
But not have I like the flamenco dancing, but see, it's hard because they don't want to have Ethan Hunt come across as cold and everything and be like James Bond and just sleep with this woman and then be like whatever. But having him be all sappy and be like, oh, I love this woman, I just met her and she's the most beautiful woman I've ever met.
Yeah.
And we're going to sleep together and we're going to have a car chase and we're going to press our faces together after she almost dies after trying to kill me.
On the side of the mountain. I think have like you could have like Ethan Hunt and Nia Hall still be a love interest, but save it to the end. Don't
Yeah.
have it straight from the beginning. Have him recruit her and like maybe, you can see that he's interested in her, but don't have them already fucking from the start. Because
Yeah.
he could still be like
Yeah.
hesitant to have her, go back to Sean or whatever, but that he doesn't express it to her. So
Yeah.
then she just does it and all that, and then save the love interest till the end after, she gets the Bellerophon or whatever it's called. Bellerophon, yeah.
Yes. We haven't
And
even
then,
talked about that.
Yeah, and then, they can kiss and whatever.
Yeah, I think it would have been a much better movie. I mean, for a myriad of reasons, but they could have gone one of two ways. I think if it hadn't ended with them walking away into the sunset together, as lovers or boyfriend and girlfriend,
Yeah.
I think that if at the end of it she had have gone, you know what, I've got a fair bit of PTSD. This was a pretty traumatic event. I was having a good time being a master thief, not being in the action. That's not what I'm here for. We'll see each other again, Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
That would have been good. Or have her be sort of how we see her under the control of Ethan Hunt and under the control of Sean Ambrose. And have it be not revealed, but it seems to me less so that they're in love and more like he's using her. Even though he regrets it, it's clear that he's using this woman.
Yeah.
And Sean Ambrose is
also using her.
I mean, he's pretty much a rapist.
Yeah.
It's weird, and I know throwing that word around isn't probably very great, but
it's odd.
The way he was, even if it wasn't that, she was there doing something she doesn't want to do, the way he grabs her, that's pretty dodgy.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe have her be like, not even turn bad, but how she injects herself be like, now I'm going to go talk to whoever's got the highest bid. Have her do something other than just be this sad, perky-breasted damsel.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not just, that sounds weird that I say that, but it is so weird that in the shootout scene, she's wearing a crop top, tight shirt with, what kind of bra did you say it was?
It looks like an old-fashioned triangle bra.
Yeah.
That, pronounces the nipples.
It's very strange.
And then even in, an earlier scene, in, the horse racing scene, she's not wearing a bra at all. Which would be okay if she wasn't already so sexualized.
Yeah.
Sean Ambrose pretty much just says, even if she's up to something, I just want to root.
Yeah, which leads me on to Hugh Stamp. What is up with that guy? Because Sean Ambrose says to him, some of us are burdened by
sex.
We're something by the burden of sex.
Yeah.
And that led me to be, and also Hugh Stamp he's quite a weird character. I thought maybe, he was like, and this was the year 2000, so they'd never acknowledge it in a positive way, but asexual. Maybe he's just one of those people who's like all about the job.
Yeah.
All they care about is, money and killing and stuff like that. And that's totally fine, but lean into it.
Yeah. Which
is probably on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Probably.
Which, ever since I heard that, I'm just like, oh, these problems I have, I can't complain about because...
Well, you can.
Well, yeah, but it's just annoying because I know the reason why. Well, it's pretty easy to figure out the reason why we didn't see what we should have seen is because they filmed it and then it was cut out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then instead of keeping good character stuff in, they left in okay action in a lot of scenes.
Yeah. You know what they could have cut out? The scene where, in the beginning, when Nia Hall is trying to steal that necklace and they're hiding in the bath and we have a little bit of a Titanic scene going on
Oh,
where they're laying on top of each other, and they could have very easily laid next to each other
yeah.
in that gigantic bath.
Because Tandy Way Newton is tiny,
Mm.
you're stick thin, and Tom Cruise is like 5 feet tall, and also quite a thin, wiry guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not the biggest people in the world.
No, it's just another example of the love aspect being very forced.
Mm,
And then it just looks odd. Like, Tom Cruise just looks like a weirdo creep. And, yeah, Nia Hall just looks like this. She's supposed to be a strong, thief, master thief, but they just make her seem like just a woman who can be controlled and used.
yeah, yeah. There is one line by the way, Sir Anthony Hopkins is in this in an uncredited role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was another one who they offered that role to Sir Ian McKellen. He turned it down, and his manager or agent or whatever was not happy. But it turned out if he had taken that, because the shoot ran for his little cameo part from 2 days to 5 days, and if he had done that, he wouldn't have been Magneto in the X-Men, and he wouldn't have been Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. So,
Luckily, he didn't do this movie.
yeah, this movie could have very well made people want to shoot Tom Cruise. Yeah, he has that line where Tom Cruise says she has no experience doing this sort of thing, and he says, "What? Sleeping with a man and lying to him? She's a woman. She has everything she needs."
It's bad, but it's funny.
It's in one line. You show that this guy doesn't give a shit about her, doesn't give a shit about Ethan Hunt, knows that they're screwing around,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Get the job done. I don't give a shit about your feelings."
Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
it's makes you have a chuckle, because this guy just comes in, spouts all this stuff about the mission, and is like, "Hey, casual sexism," and then leaves. But of course, she's gonna, the love story is gonna happen. You can't take that away, babe, because Ethan Hunt is the coolest man in the world.
Apparently.
Badass. Yeah.
They really ramp it up in this movie.
He is there's actually a line in one of the later movies, and it's well deserved in that movie, but in this, it wouldn't have been. They say Ethan Hunt is a force of nature. But in this movie, it would have been him saying it to himself in the mirror while he's stroking it.
Yep.
It's just so creepy.
This movie wants you to know Ethan Hunt is the man.
He is so much better than you are.
Yeah.
They were talking about it in the behind the scenes where he's doing it's called like the Iron Cross or whatever, where he's on the cliff and he's got both arms outstretched, and you can see his biceps and triceps just like tensed right up.
Yeah.
And he smiles, and it's meant to show that to anybody else this would be life or death, but to Ethan Hunt this is nothing. Holy shit.
Just eye roll.
That's the year 2000, man.
I know. It's so bad to watch it now and just be like, ugh. But back then, it was cool.
Yeah, but there's movies before and like very close before this and very close after this that actually were really cool. Like Face Off, which I maintain is a great movie. I'm not going to go on about Face Off, but I could. There were good bits in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the horse race scene, Nia showing off her pickpocketing skills, but she makes the mistake of putting it in the wrong pocket, which leads Sean Ambrose to figure out that she's been up to something.
Yeah.
The suspense of Hugh Stamp getting closer and closer while Ethan Hunt's telling her to get out of there.
Yeah.
And then he just gets away. That's all good. And, like we said, the heist scene is the best scene in the movie, except for everyone moves too goddamn slow.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just slowly pick up.
Yep.
Chimera.
I'll
and
just
I'll
look at it and
put
have
it
a
into
flashback.
the burn chamber. And then I'll slowly pick up the next one. And then, yeah, he gets to the third one. And he has a flashback, but it doesn't make any sense because is it supposed to be him going, oh, I'm supposed to collect some of this? Because they don't have old mate's voice in there saying, collect a sample. It's just about the doctor who died.
Yeah.
So wouldn't he be like...
Yeah, get rid of this thing as
Yeah.
fast as possible, but no.
Mm.
They move so slow.
Mm. Also, the opening airplane scene is quite good.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pretty good
that was
trick.
Good. Yeah.
With you think it's Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
And then it's Sean Ambrose. And yeah, I really like how the villain, Sean Ambrose, knows Ethan Hunt
so well.
like the back of his hand because he's pretended to be him. That was the third time on the plane. I think that's quite good.
Yeah, I did really like that.
Tandy Newton, or Tandy Way Newton, sorry. If you're confused about why we're calling her that, she recently, a few months ago, announced that she was going to start going by her proper name. There was a misspelling on her first film, and she just went with it for maybe that reason or maybe others, but that's what she said, and now she's going by her proper birth name. It's a middle name, but, yeah, so that's why we're not just having a stroke every 5 seconds. Brendan Gleeson is criminally underused in this. He's fantastic. I mean, he's not the only one. Ving Rhames is underused. John Paulson plays Billy. He's underused. But he's fantastic. Does exactly what he needs to do, except they should have had him in more scenes.
Yeah.
I think we already
and even
talked
the
about
scenes
that.
and even the scenes that he is in, he doesn't really say or do much.
Except for when he's in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
Which I quite liked, but yeah. Naya is, as we said before, pretty underused as well. Which it's not... Final action scene is pretty underwhelming in my opinion. We talked about it at the start of spoilers where, he kills Sean Ambrose by kicking a gun out of the sand.
Yeah.
He kicks forward, but the gun shoots straight up like it was spring-loaded.
That wasn't the only ridiculous thing as well. Remember when they crash their motorbikes and slam bodies together?
They did that in a really cool way, even though it's so stupid. They put like tracks under the sand, or they'd be exposed, but it looks like there's sand on them in the final cut. And then all the rock around them wasn't real. The art department made all that and everything. Yeah. And then so that's why the bikes just keep going. Yeah. And it's a well done stunt, but man, is it dumb. Yeah. Yeah. And then like in the final sort of fight, he does sort of systematically take down all of Sean Ambrose's men, which is done okay. He takes down Hugh Stamp pretty well. Although it's not as believable as they would like to have it, where he could get the one up on Ethan Hunt, like properly. But it is done pretty good. But the way he, like, when he's on the motorbike, holds down does a burnout. Yeah. And then the drivers can't see. Yeah. And his hacker, who looks like a sex offender, is driving. If you haven't seen it, he's got bright blonde hair and then like a dark auburn, almost ginger beard. Yeah. And he's always got this dumb friggin' grin on his face. and he's actually played by William Mapotha. I don't know how to say that, Mapotha or something. He's actually Tom Cruise's cousin. So he's got that same stupid Tom Cruise grin. Yeah. And he's always smiling like a little bastard. He looks, and the way he's dressed. Yeah. Yeah, he looks like a dead set sex offender.
Does look like a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah. You would cross the street if this guy was coming to you, I reckon. But yeah, it's not terrible, but it's all pretty plain action.
Then they get just blown up by the truck
Yeah.
crashing into them.
Apparently they had a stick of TNT in their
Yeah,
car because when the
yeah.
truck hits them, it just whoosh.
Mm.
I think that the action scene that preceded all that was better in the skyscraper. The shooting in that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seemed a bit more like Ethan Hunt could get a bit hurt or something was going to happen, but it leads to one of the dumbest moments in the movie. Probably second only to the golden dove in the final showdown, where it flies through just out of
through the
nowhere.
fire.
And then he sees it again. Oh, anyway.
Yeah. Oh.
Where Naya injects herself with Chimera, and we haven't talked about it, but Chimera is a deadly man-made influenza, and Bellerophon is the only antidote, which Ambrose gets that at the start of the movie, and he jumps the gun and kills the doctor before he finds out that the doctor's injected himself.
Yeah. He has a antidote with no virus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just before the last one can be destroyed or given to Ambrose, Naya injects herself with it, and then nobody will shoot her because if she dies, the virus dies.
Yeah.
And so she goes over to Ethan Hunt where he's hiding, and she presses his gun, and maybe this is why they put that bra on her, right up against her nipple, like right into it. And she's like, shoot me, you know what you have to do. And instead of taking her with him, he's like, I'll come back for you, don't die. And then jumps out a window.
Yeah.
But
she holds the gun right up to her tit.
Like into it.
Yeah.
Like her nipple would have been in in the barrel of the gun.
The bullet would hit the nipple
It
first.
was clogged up, like when in the Bugs Bunny cartoons he puts his carrot in the end of Elmer Fudd's rifle. Oh, God.
Just another ridiculous moment.
It is just another example of how she's just a pawn. And even when she's making her own decisions, she's like, oh, I just didn't want you to get hurt, Ethan.
Yeah.
So I injected myself with the most deadly virus known to man. And then came over to you.
Yeah. Apparently, having sex with Ethan Hunt just turns you into a dumb idiot.
Because she is very smart and capable.
Yeah.
And then they have sex. And then he finds out why they really want her. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway. On that note, what is your verdict for this movie?
My verdict for Mission Impossible 2, highest grossing movie of 2000, is trash.
Me too. Very trash. It had good bits. It had potential. Like we said, if we had seen, John Woo's cut, who knows what our verdict would have been.
Hashtag release the Woo cut.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as the movie is, trash.
Absolutely. It's an absolute. It's an absolute travesty that this movie was number one.
Yeah.
It beat Gladiator. Fuck this movie.
Yeah. And this was our first highest grossing that we've rated trash.
Yeah, absolutely. It was financially cash, critically trash.
Yeah.
Most people don't like this movie.
Yeah.
It definitely came out at a time when you could have a bad movie be big at the box office and people wouldn't really care that much.
Yeah.
Whereas now audiences are, well, they say audiences are more sophisticated, but I don't believe that. I think it's, maybe it is sophistication, but I don't want to give general audiences that much credit. That includes us.
Yeah. I wouldn't exactly say I'm sophisticated.
Yeah. Well, I think you're pretty smart, babe.
Well, thank you.
No, I mean, like, Morbius just came out, and that was plagued by production issues, and I think it's, people know more about the process now, like, when it's happening.
Yeah.
People will hear about it more, and it will be reported on more when there's issues going on, and then that spreads word of mouth before the movies come out. So a movie like that has suffered lots of production issues and is I haven't seen it. I have no intentions of wasting my precious time on this earth on that movie. By all accounts, everyone has said it's absolute trash. So, yeah, I think that, I mean, who knows? Maybe, like, next year or something, we'll end up doing an episode on it.
Yeah,
maybe. If it makes not very much money.
Yeah.
But yeah, it suffered because of that. So I think that that's why, movies that aren't very good back then may have made more money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you weren't aware of the bad stuff going on prior to seeing the movie.
Yeah, you just
maybe.
go, "Ooh, Tom Cruise."
Oh, the first one was good. Let's watch the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But normally, even when that happens, normally it's like the opening weekend is quite big, and then.
Yeah, true. This movie still made a lot of money.
I think.
Not too much profit though, if you take into account marketing.
It was like, what, 125 million?
Was the budget, yeah.
Then marketing is generally not double it, it's the budget again.
Yeah.
So, true, but Tom Cruise did end up having to pay for a lot of this himself, I saw. So, don't think it really mattered. But then again, there was 6 years between this and the third one.
Yeah.
So,
our big question is just how did this movie make the top place for highest grossing?
The rule of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an actual rule, but I hear that thrown around a lot, that there's just so much badass and cool stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Also, it's filmed in Australia, and that's just wasted. It's in Sydney is the least Australian city in Australia.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they use Sydney for a lot of, Superman Returns was filmed in Sydney as Metropolis.
Yeah.
Couldn't even tell, because it just looks like a city.
Yeah.
I know that they go out to a sheep station for a bit.
But that could be anywhere.
Yeah, it's red, so you're like, oh yeah, that's Australia. Sorry, Australia. Yeah. Crap.
Pretty crap. Pretty crap movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of part 2000 part 1. Come back next week.
If you like us and you want to support us, we have a Patreon. We've got 3 tiers now. If you want to check those out, and they're pretty small amounts at the moment, but any amount will help us out a lot. Yeah,
I don't know what the URL is, but just look up Cash versus Trash on Patreon and you should find us.
Yeah. And we have an Instagram. Our handle is @Cash versus Trash Pod. And you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and you can find us on YouTube. But all the links will be in the descriptions, so you can just follow it there.
Yep. And if you want to get in contact with us, the best way to do that would be to email us at cashversustrashpod@gmail.com, all lowercase. If you want to just let us know what you think. If we start getting enough, we might do maybe like a little segment where we read out some letters, or anything like that.
Yeah, just some criticism. Let us know how we go. If you like the show or not.
We'll get criticism.
Yeah.
You don't need to email us for that. Not directly would be best, thank you. But come back next week.
Yeah, the lowest grossing movie of 2000 is a movie called Cecil B. Demented.
Yep, the comedy, I think. I've heard of it. We watched the trailer. It was originally going to be The Girl on the Bridge, but we had a bit more of a look and realised that didn't get
any international release.
Yeah, it didn't have any record of it, so we just wanted to be as pure as possible. Cecil B. Demented had better records, so we've gone with that. And I have no idea what to make of this movie. I've never seen it before.
Me neither.
Yeah, but lowest grossing movie of 2000. It's about the filmmaking industry.
Yeah.
Not a documentary though. And
so tune in for that next week.
Yeah. And anyway, this has been the Cash versus Trash podcast.
See ya.